Moving on, we're going to take a look at the administration side of things. First thing that you want to do is go to yourdomain/administrator, which will bring you to the administrator login that you see here. Enter your username and password and click Login. When you first log in, you're presented with the control panel. This is your starting point. This gives you some quick access to some of the most important areas that you're going to be using. Before we get into any of this, I wanted to cover something really quickly. If you ever run into issues and you're looking for help on forums or from a Joomla professional, they're going to want to know some information about your system. To get that information, go up to the Site menu and down to System Information. The system information provides you with very important information, such as what database version you're running, the version of PHP you're using, what kind of web server you have, the Joomla version that you're running on that server. You can also get your PHP settings. You can review your configuration file, check your directory permissions, and get full PHP information for your PHP install. Keep this in mind if you ever run into issues. Let's go back to the control panel. Well, the control panel has a series of quick shortcut icons you can use. There's also a whole bunch of other stuff that we'll be using that's not listed here in these quick icons, such as components, where we'll find the news feed and the contacts, and the extensions menu, where we'll not only install and remove stuff, but also control modules, plugins, and the templates that we'll be using. Let's start things off by taking a look at the global configuration. The global configuration is where you're going to find your site, system, and server settings, and where you'll exercise your global control over permissions and access control lists. Under the Site tab, we've got some site settings, which include your site name, whether your site is currently online or offline. You can select your default WYSIWYG editor for when you're editing content and adding new content to your website. If you'd like to add reCAPTCHA to reduce the amount of spam coming in from your contact forms, select it here and then add your public and private keys for reCAPTCHA in the plugin settings. We'll get to that later, don't worry. Your default metadata settings are here as well. You can put in a description, keywords, you can select some basic information for robots, enter your content rights, you can choose to show the author meta tag from here, and you can also decide if you want to show the Joomla version in the generator tag. By default, under your search engine optimization settings, search engine friendly URLs are turned on, but URL rewriting is not. If you're going to turn on search engine friendly URLs, it is highly recommended that you use URL rewriting as well. Before enabling this option, make sure you hover over the exclamation mark and get the instructions to modify either the htaccess or the web config file for Apache or 2S servers. If you're unsure what type of server you have, remember, check the system information. If you'd like your pages to show up with the .html on the end, you can add the suffix to the URL by selecting it here. If you're unsure about Unicode aliases, leave this set to no for now. You can also select if you want your site name to show up in your page titles. If you do select this, I recommend choosing after, not before. The cookie settings should be left blank unless you're an advanced user and know what you're doing here. The only things that you really need to worry about under the System tab are the debug settings, which you're only going to turn on if you're having problems with your website, and the session settings. The session settings control how long both you and users are logged into the website. The default setting is 15 minutes. But it wouldn't hurt to bump this up to something like 45 minutes or even an hour. Under the Server tab, the big thing that you're going to want to change is your time zone. Locate your time zone from the list and select it. You can leave everything else on this page the same unless you're running into problems with your database and need to change those settings. The Permissions tab is where you'll find the global control for permissions. Again, unless you're an advanced user, I recommend leaving this set as is. You can leave the text filters as default as well, unless you're an advanced user. Once you're done making your changes, you can either select Save, which will save your options and refresh the page, or Save and Close, which will take you back to the control panel. I know you're probably eager to get started, but before we do, I still want to go through a couple more things on this end. We're currently logged into the administration of the demo site that we'd seen earlier. There's already a series of categories, menus, and articles in this system, so when we're in the back end looking around, don't worry, we'll get you up to speed later. We're going to cover some of the stuff that we're going to be using to build our website. I'm going to go a little quick, but don't worry, we're going to get a little more in-depth later as we go. I'm going to start at the top and work my way down for the stuff that we're going to use. Of course, we're going to use the article manager. Now, the article manager allows you to control all your articles. As you can see here, there's quite a few already in here in different categories. Right at the top, we've got a filter and a series of drop-down menus. These can be used to filter down your content. When you have over 100 articles in your website, it sure makes things easy when you can search for it. The category manager. As you can see here, there's a whole series of categories already in play, and you'll notice some of them look indented. These are what are known as nested categories. We've got the base sample data articles category, and within that category, we've got the Joomla category. Within the Joomla category, we've got the extensions category. Within the extensions category, we've got components and modules, so you can see how everything's nested within. When we build our corporate website, the category structure is going to be a lot simpler than this. But now you know for future reference that it is quite robust. Let's take a look at the Media Manager. The Media Manager is a simple tool that allows you to upload and control your media. We're going to use it a little bit later to upload some graphics for our website. If you upload a graphic that you don't need, or there is a graphic that you don't need, simply click the little X to delete it. The Menu Manager. The Menu Manager is where we control all the menus and sub-menus of the website. As you can see here, we've got a user menu, a top menu, an About Joomla menu, an Australian Parks menu, the main menu, and the fruit shop. Using menu modules, you can then place these menus in different positions on the website. Again, we'll see a little bit more of that later. The User Manager. This is where you can add, delete, block, and unblock users. As you can see, there's currently only one user in the system, and that's us, the super user. This is where we're going to add users and groups later. Well, in the User Manager, you can also switch to the user groups. These are the different groups that users can be added to once they're in the system. Now you can see here there's the default ones, plus they've added a couple of extra ones, shop suppliers and customer groups, as additional examples for the demo site that we're currently using. By default, you're only going to have public, manager, administrator, registered, author, editor, publisher, and super users. This is a tiered hierarchy with super users at the top. This goes back to the whole access control list thing and controlling what people can do on your site. It can get very advanced and very difficult very quickly. We're going to keep ours simple. The Module Manager. The Module Manager allows you to create and edit modules for wherever they appear on the site. As you can see, there's a title, a position, and a type that you can see here. You'll notice that the types are all different. Archived articles, latest news, feed display, search, and you'll notice the positions are all currently set to none. Again, this is the demo site, and all these modules are not going to be in the site that we create. We'll get more in depth on this as we build our corporate site. The Extensions Manager. The Extensions Manager allows us to install and manage additional extensions and templates that we install into our site. By default, we're taken to the Install page. If we click on the Manage tab, we'll get a list of all the extensions that are currently installed and enabled on the website. You'll notice that some of the extensions have little locks on them. Those are protected extensions that are part of the base system and can't be deleted. And the last thing that I want to cover before we start building our website is the Template Manager. The Template Manager is where you select both the front end and the administrator templates for your site. As you can see, the Bees 2 is the default theme that is selected and set as the default theme. While there are 2 additional templates that come with the base Joomla system, they're no better than the template that you saw already. This is why we're going to be using a third-party template to build our corporate website. That's a quick overview of the icons that are on the control panel. Some of these can also be accessed from the menus, such as the Menu Manager, the Users Manager, the Groups, the Article, and the Category Manager. You'll notice that the Components menu has a bunch of stuff that doesn't show up on the control panel. That's okay. This menu can get quite large, and you don't want that on the Quick Icons menu. This is the basic overview of the admin side of things, and it'll start to make more sense once we actually start to build our website. Let's get to it.